All right, everybody. Good morning. It's Bernard Nomberg. It is Tuesday morning, 10 o'clock Central, and we're back for another weekly episode of Nomberg Law Live. And boy, we got a good one today. My buddy, Matthew Leightman, originally out of Bel Air, Houston, Texas, now up in NYC. I've known Matt his whole before he was born. And we've got some great stuff to talk about cryptocurrency. How you doing, Matt, man? What's going on in your world today, bud?
Not a whole lot. Just in the middle of the workday. Was happy to block off an hour to talk to you.
Well, I'm very always happy to talk to you or any of the Lightman family, but we got a good topic today. We're going to talk about something that my generation and the generations older are scratching their heads and trying to figure out. And Matt's generation has it figured out, and we're going to get him to explain some stuff to us today. In its elementary definition, what does cryptocurrency mean?
It's an online digital currency. At its highest level, it operates no different than the money in your bank account. It's just numbers on a screen.
Well, my generation and older, and even folks younger than me, they like having it in their pocket. They like having it buried in the backyard in a mason jar, or they like their little checking account, or maybe even a money market account, Matt. But there's nothing physical to touch, is there?
No, there's not.
Well, how do you get past that barrier? How do you prove to somebody who is not a believer yet that it's something they should consider and this is where things are headed?
I think the easiest way to look at all of this, do you consider using a debit card physical touch, or do you really only mean cash in your hand?
Yeah, no, that's a very good point because most people use debit cards daily, grocery store, wherever it may be. Absolutely.
We are very much in the very first, maybe second inning of the cryptocurrency space these days. It's very much Wild West, gold rush, 1860s, annex territories. Let's go out and search for as much gold as possible. Timeline of the cryptocurrency gold rush at the moment. So that being said, all of the infrastructure is being built out. It seems like every day I learn about a new company that's building out a crypto debit card that will allow you to spend your cryptocurrency at the grocery store, at the gas station, to pay for it for rent, utilities. That type of infrastructure is coming. I feel like we are 3 to 6 months away from a massive announcement from Visa, where they're going to announce their own crypto credit card that will allow people to integrate directly with their crypto holdings. Just crypto as a whole, just to back up and talk about why I like it and why I feel like we're heading towards the future with crypto. Two key principles stand out to me the most, and that's transparency and consensus. A lot of people like to point at crypto as a place for criminals to conduct money laundering or to buy illicit drugs or all of this like dark, scary words that the news likes to use to scare people away from cryptocurrency. It really couldn't be further from the truth. Every cryptocurrency transaction, whether it be Bitcoin or Ethereum, which are the two main ones, are entirely visible to everybody. If you knew if you sent me money to my cryptocurrency account, you could then go look at my wallet and see every transaction that I've ever made. It is entirely open source to the visibility of the world. And then consensus is, I like to break this down into an analogy because the one that makes the most sense to people and it seems to resonate the most is thinking back to high school, where everybody had that one teacher who would always seem to give them bad grades. That teacher is a centralized authority who had full control over your grades as a kid in that specific class. The crypto example would be, what if instead of one teacher giving you the grade is if when you turn in a paper, all 20 or 30 teachers in the school would have to give you a grade on the paper. And you got to see how they graded that paper and what grade was the final grade. And then the average of that was your grade. That is the problem that cryptocurrency solves for, as opposed to just a bank or a single payment processor validating a payment. what happens in crypto is if I were to send a transaction from you to me, or from me to the bank, or from me to a merchant, uh, there are thousands of computers around the world who are validating the transaction, saying that this is a legit transaction. It's not counterfeit. This is real money, and basically inscribing it in stone into the record forever.
Matt, what about the mentality? I don't want people to see what I'm spending my money on. It's none of their business. I don't need somebody to see my transactions. How is that dealt with?
So that's where the privacy does come into play. It works kind of as a double-edged sword. If you don't know my wallet, then you can't see any of this. So, I have my own, call it my public wallet, right? Where I work at a crypto company now, where if I want to have expenses invoiced, they pay me back in crypto. So the stuff that I do on the side, it's very easy to spin up multiple wallets that can be more or less private. Just because you can see all the transactions that are coming in and out of a wallet doesn't necessarily mean you know whose it belongs to.
Okay, so you can set privacy settings or different ways to
right.
your account. I'm seeing more and more merchants around town and places where I travel that say we accept Bitcoin or we accept cryptocurrency, whatever it is. The average grocery store in New York or Houston, your hometown, are you seeing that? Is that more and more of an option?
It's definitely becoming more and more prevalent. I think that's kind of a little bit cart before the horse, to be completely honest with you. I think the biggest believers of crypto, the people who are working in crypto, are not trying to spend their crypto just yet. That kind of defeats the purpose of what we're trying to accomplish. A lot of us are kind of in a hoarding mode right now. So I think people building out that infrastructure is definitely interesting. But there is more innovation that needs to come first before people are going to be willy-nilly spending their crypto.
Matt, let's say that I'm curious about this and I want to put a toe in the water, so to speak, and I have $1,000 sitting in my checking account and it's burning a hole in my wallet.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to get into cryptocurrency in some way. How does a person just make that leap? What do they do?
Well, there's two ways to go about it. You can leap now and learn later, or you can learn first and then take the leap. I personally left first, and then once I had skin in the game, I was more incentivized to go learn about what the hell I just did. So to me, that seems to be the most effective strategy, because otherwise you're just going to get bogged down with all of the mumbo jumbo. But there are institutions like Coinbase. Coinbase is a publicly traded company. They are basically the bridge between the regular world and the crypto world, kind of more or less known as a crypto bank. They're known as a centralized exchange, where they kind of sit in the middle between users and crypto. So you would basically just go open an account just like a regular bank account with them.
Who oversees Crypto Bank?
I mean, Coinbase is a publicly traded company. They trade them. Yeah, Coinbase. There's multiple companies and institutions within the same category as them. Coinbase, Gemini, FTX, basically all of the ones that you saw in the Super Bowl commercials, those guys.
And can you make an analogy that that's the same as all of the big name banks in the banking world?
Correct. Yeah. Coinbase is JP Morgan, Gemini as well as Fargo, FTX is, I don't know.
But once I put in my 1,000 to Coinbank, who am I dealing with? Is there a physical person? Am I dealing with a bot? Am I just emailing? And what am I doing from a standpoint of where did my money go? How do I know it's there?
I guess it's more like a better analogy would probably be like opening up an E-Trade account. Okay. Coinbase is more like E-Trade. It's a brokerage account. You don't necessarily have a broker that you're going to deal with once you put your money into E-Trade, but you have many options of where you want to invest your $1,000. Your $1,000 is extremely liquid. Coinbase is FDIC insured, so it's the similar protections as a bank, where if they go to hell, you've got insurance on that money. So there are ways
right there. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I don't want to lose that thought. I think what you said right there may give people the comfort that we've always known with banks being insured federally up to a certain dollar amount, if that same concept is in place when going into cryptocurrency of some sort, that might help people ease into it a little bit more, knowing there's a little bit of protection out there some way.
Yeah, Coinbase is like, if you're comfortable in your house and you've got between your front door and the outside, you've got like a little area between a screen door and the outside. Coinbase is that little room where you're still looking out the screen door. You haven't quite gone fully into the world yet, but you're still able to kind of breathe in the fresh air. So that would probably be the best way to describe what Coinbase is. And it's very easy to just link your bank account and get the money in and out very quickly. I've gone in and out of my bank account through Coinbase multiple times, and they track all the taxes for you. They do everything for you, which is great.
Wow, such great information. Guys, I'm talking with Matthew Leightman out of New York City. He is educating us on the basics of cryptocurrency. And kudos to your mom and your dad, because what's coming out of you right now is good stuff. Because the earlier versions of Matthew, I'm not used to this version, but I like this version. This is great. So thank you, Matthew, for educating us. Let's talk a little bit about, on a day-to-day basis, how does the average consumer, how do they interact with any type of cryptocurrency for their daily lives, or do they at this point?
Yeah, I probably touch my crypto just about every day, multiple times a day, depending on what I'm doing. But I'm also, I've got my hard hat on and cigarette in my mouth, deep in the gold mine. I'm speculating. I'm a speculator at this stage, and that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm trying to find the next hottest crypto coin, because that's not what I'm doing at all. There are ways to kind of play with around the space to try to accumulate more.
And I think
that seems to be a little too deep in the weeds for this conversation, to be honest.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I want to touch on it for like 90 seconds, because we talk about Bitcoin and some other similar terms that may or may not be familiar to the folks watching our show, or may catch us on replay on YouTube. What does that mean, mining for coins? Because we hear about this in the news quite a bit, where they set up these farms and they spend all this money on this machinery. What does that mean?
So I'll touch on mining, because that's kind of what I was talking about earlier with the validation of transactions. But what I'm doing, I'm not doing any mining. I'm doing what's called yield farming. So traditional finance, when you put your money into a bank account, you get 0.25% interest on your savings account. Meanwhile, inflation is about 7%. So you're losing about 7% of your money every year while your money sits in a savings account. What crypto enables, it's called DeFi, decentralized finance. That is kind of the whole point of what we're doing here, where if you wanted to go get a loan right now from a bank, you would have to go sit down, they'd have to approve you. You'd put up your house title as collateral for the loan, and they'd approve you for a certain amount, and they'd charge you some exorbitant interest rate, and you'd have to pay them back over 40 years, right? That's my understanding of how a mortgage works. I've never done it before, but I have an idea if that's how it works. In crypto, if I wanted to go get a loan for anything, let's say that there's a new coin that's coming out that I really wanted to take a big position in, but I didn't want to sell all of my Bitcoin, but I wanted to have the equivalent in US dollars so that I could buy it. I can go to any number of crypto institutions that are decentralized and ask for a loan. And there are people who will assess my credit. It kind of happens all in a decentralized way, where there's not just one loan officer. Everybody who owns the protocol token will say, yep, we're going to give Matthew, a 2% interest loan on this stuff. And at the same time, I get to participate in the lending of that. So that's what I mean by yield farming. I'm not taking any loans, but I am lending my currency to these people, and they get to go make the loans to people. So I get access to the interest rates that normally banks have monopoly over. So that's a lot of what I'm doing, is I'm kind of moving my money around from different places that are offering loans. So there's some construction in the apartment next to me, apologies. And basically just trying to earn interest on my crypto. That's what I'm spending a lot of my time on, just finding the best places to earn interest on my crypto and earning the interest in crypto.
Fascinating stuff. Is there any equivalent in the banking world that most of us know about what you're doing, or is this all new strategies about how to make your money grow for you?
It's exactly right. There's really nothing like it. It's kind of like the stock market on steroids, where you sure you can go buy a bond or a blue chip stock and have it pay dividends, but that's kind of all there is. Where in crypto you have that and then some. You don't really have access to private lending markets in traditional finance.
Have you seen, for those who want to learn more after this, and the folks aren't bombarding Matthew Leightman for information, have you seen any documentaries or short films that may be educational that you would recommend?
I would highly recommend some YouTube videos, which is what I use to educate my parents. It's called 99 Bitcoins. And you can just search 99 Bitcoins, what is Bitcoin? And that'll be the first one, and he'll start talking. And then there's what is Ethereum? And he'll start talking. And these are about 7 to 15-minute videos. This is what I used to educate my mom. I sat her down and was like, we're gonna watch this guy talk. We watched it 3 times, but in the middle of the second go through, she goes, oh, I get it.
Light bulb.
I get it. And she's like, now I get it. Now I see. Let's watch it one more time so it comes through. And we did. And then I came home 6 months later, we watched it again just to reinforce it. There's a lot of things to understand, but with enough dedication, it'll start to click, because it is relatively high level concepts that are put together at the same time.
What if you've got the mindset, I don't care about all that stuff. I'm sticking with my banks. I'm sticking with what I know. What are they missing out? What's the consumer missing out?
Have you heard of the I'm sure you have. There's a cryptocurrency. It's got a supply of about 27 trillion. About 40% of it was created in the last 18 months. There's a handful of 30 people who can decide how much they can create at any given time. And about 1% of holders own about 80% of the coins. Have you heard of that crypto coin?
No.
It sounds pretty shitty, doesn't it? I probably can't say that on here, can I? It sounds pretty terrible, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, that's the US dollar. Yeah. That's not a crypto coin. Yeah. So I wouldn't say that they're necessarily missing out. I just think that there's probably something better out there. The cool thing about Bitcoin is that it's got a maximum supply of 21 million. There will never be more than 21 million Bitcoins in existence ever. It is impossible. It is written into code. That's where the mining kind of comes into play. People are trying to earn the unmined Bitcoin. The Bitcoin that's not in circulation is released very slowly. That's what people are doing with the mining. They're trying to get their hands on the unreleased Bitcoin.
Is it known how much has been released up to now?
Yeah, there's a record of it. I think we're at I don't know, maybe 18 million at this point. I think there's another 3 million left to go. It released a lot at first and then started tapering off.
Has there been speculation what happens once all 21 million get released?
I think it's a very long tail. I don't want to say it's not my problem, but it's the last Bitcoin will be released in 130 years or something like that.
So yeah, it won't be not in our lifetimes, that's for sure.
Correct. So then the second currency that I tend to actually own more of, I own very little Bitcoin, if any at all these days, is Ethereum. Ethereum is kind of the base for all of the open finance that I was discussing earlier. If you've heard about all of the NFT mania, the monkey JPEgs, that's all done on Ethereum. All of the Dogecoin, that's done on Ethereum. Ethereum is kind of where the innovation is happening. Bitcoin was first, but Ethereum is where the innovation is happening. They have a deflationary model where the more that ETH gets used, the more it gets burnt into existence. So it's got a supply of 118 million right now, and it'll never go higher. It's actually slowly decreasing.
Guys, the terms that Matt is throwing around that he does so effortlessly, because that's his world, it can be scary to someone who's never been in that world yet. But just like anything else, once you educate yourself, then you may be more comfortable about getting into that. Matt, we've got a few more minutes, but I want to ask you to kind of put your crystal ball out and look into it. In the next couple of years, is it going to ever overtake the traditional model of banking and U.S. coins or whatever, however you want to describe the current models for folks in the States?
I don't really have a strong thesis on that because I think there's definitely a path to coexistence. There's already tons of institutional buying. And this is all public knowledge. JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, like all of the big institutions, hedge funds, like they all have tons of crypto exposure at this point. Traditional VC funds have tons of exposure to the crypto companies that are up and coming. Like I said, I think we're a couple months away from Visa making a big splash. They've already kind of tipped their hand to being pretty involved in the crypto space. So I don't necessarily think that it's going to be able to fully overtake the financial system as we know it. I think there are tons of advantages, especially when it comes to international commerce, to be able to just send Bitcoin from one address to another without having to worry about going through a Western Union. But there are a lot of people who don't have the technical advantages to be able to have crypto at their fingertips. The disenfranchised who are living paycheck to paycheck. Like right now, crypto is a big problem, and it's kind of it's a privileged game right now for sure. So there's a lot of infrastructure that needs to be built that I don't think is being solved in the next couple of years. I think maybe in a 20 to 30 year time horizon, which is the time horizon that I'm operating on.
Yeah.
To be clear, I'm not really. I'm more or less price agnostic these days. Like it's really fun when you see a headline about the new price of Bitcoin, but to me, it's more or less irrelevant. It might as well be the same price for every day.
Well, you partially answered my last topic I wanted to address, being the problems right now with any type of cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, et cetera. One is the lack of knowledge of the average typical consumer. Two, as you said, it's really more for someone who has the ability, the financial means to jump in of any substantial amount. Other than those two things, which are big things.
Yeah.
Are there other hurdles? I guess without getting too technical, because I know a lot of it's going to end up being how all of this works from a digital standpoint. I don't know. I don't even know if it's a good question that I'm throwing to you about the problems, the hurdles, the issues right now facing that world of finance.
Well, first of all, there's no such thing as a stupid question in this world. There just isn't. You could ask me anything, and I would try to find an answer for it. And I would.
I've got one, but we'll
okay.
save it.
Okay. Yeah. There's no such thing as a stupid question, because this is a lot to understand. A main trope of the industry right now is how do we educate more people? Because the lack of education sure is one thing. That's why there's the guys like 99 Bitcoins on YouTube who is trying to create very high level, entry level stuff so that people can understand just the basics so that they can start to learn a little bit more. So education, like that's obviously like a key battle. There are metrics to be seen that show that we are winning that battle slowly. More and more people are getting involved every day. That is the cool thing about all this stuff, being it so open source and transparent, that you can see the amount of active Bitcoin addresses who have transacted in the last 30 days.
Yeah.
And then as far as the technical know-how and financial means, I would argue against the notion that, oh, the price of Bitcoin is 40K, like I'm too late. People have been saying that for 8 years. You might not be at generational wealth opportunity, but even putting in a couple $100, a couple $1,000, even $50 today might be worth several thousand tomorrow. It's the notion of being too late is not a trope that I would subscribe to, just because in 2017 I was like, oh my God, I'm too late. Price of Bitcoin 17,000, and now here we are 3x later. Like there's still money to be made. We're still very much in the first inning. But I think the biggest problem, truly the biggest problem, is the technical gap, the technology gap between the privileged and the disenfranchised. And those are problems that I think about a lot. And those are problems that I hope to be able to solve one day. How do you bridge that gap? I have some terrible ideas on the back of a napkin somewhere that I don't know if they will be good. We'll find out. But there are a lot of smart people who are trying to figure this out. And the one thing that makes me so optimistic about cryptocurrencies is that the smartest people in the world, the smartest developers in the world, the technically sound, the software developers are spending their nights and weekends on crypto. And a lot of them are making the leap to doing it full time. And that's where I'm putting my money, on those people. So I'm just happy to be a part of it.
Oh, good stuff, Matthew. One final, and this is not exactly on point, but it certainly touches on it. We've all seen in the collectibles world, digital art, digital sports moments, digital cards or collectibles. Why would I want that as opposed to the physical baseball card that we all know? And B, how am I paying for those kind of things? Have you that part of your world at all? Is that touch in the cryptocurrency world? When you see Matt, when you see a digital photo of a chimp with his hat turned on backwards and it's going for gazunta money, how do you justify that? You know, how do you pay for that?
Well, you don't justify it because it's out of control. It's very much tulip mania. If you're familiar with Amsterdam in the, I don't know, 1700s, whenever the tulips went boom bust. So should the price of a monkey JPEG with his hat turned backwards be worth 400 grand? No, of course not. But what that is doing and what it's really symbolizing is tokenized membership, and it's true membership into a community, which is kind of a whole separate thing. You're paying for it with Ether. So these are people who have been in Ethereum since the price of Ether was, 30 cents. They just have tons of Ether. They don't know what to do with it. So it's kind of a little bit of that mania. But what it also symbolizes to me is kind of the adoption of this new technology. It's like I said, it's a very gold rush. It's very, picks and shovels. Don't be mining for gold. How can you go mine picks and shovels? Like, how can you go sell the hardware at the gold mine? Because that's how you're going to make your money. But when you go buy a baseball ticket, Bernard, and you buy it to go see the Braves, you're usually buying it on Ticketmaster or wherever their ticket publisher is, call it Ticketmaster. If all of a sudden you're not able to go to the game, you are kind of stuck with Ticketmaster. The monkey JPEGs that you see, those are called NFTs. That's kind of the word that's thrown around. If I buy an NFT, I can sell it anywhere. It is completely mine. I own the tickets. So you don't necessarily own the baseball tickets. Just because Ticketmaster says that they're in your account doesn't mean that you actually own them. It's just a piece of data that you own on their software. You can't go sell it anywhere other than Ticketmaster. If I were to go buy a monkey JPEG on one of the brokers, I can go sell it on another one. So what it truly is ownership. And the reason why you see prices so high is that humans love to speculate. That's just human nature. People have been speculating on baseball cards, on sneakers, on Beanie Babies since the beginning of time. This is just the next fad in the speculation bubble. I would say to anybody who's looking to get rich quick, be very, very careful about stepping into NFTs unless you really, really know what you're doing. Don't be caught with, unless you really like the art, it's very much collectible JPEGs.
Yeah. Speaking of,
but that is like something to keep in mind, is that it's very much, the world is getting more and more digital these days, whether we like it or not. I'm kind of on the cusp of that generation that is spending all of their time online. So it's hard for me to make that bridge for sure. But there are some serious artists who are releasing digital copies of their art, which will be store of value in the long run for sure.
Guys, I don't know if this is a digital version of Matthew talking to us right now or the actual. No.
I'll never tell.
No, and if you are interested in Beanie Babies, I still have a big bag of them somewhere in storage. Matthew, thank you for educating us. This is fascinating stuff. This is stuff that people need to know. They need to not be left behind, even if it's not something they know about or want to know about. They need to know about it. But here's my dumb question of the day. Assuming the Major League Baseball season comes into actually plays this year, where will the Astros fall in their division at the end of the season? We know where the Braves will be, but where are the Astros going to be?
I guess that depends on what happens with Carlos Correa.
It does. and Freddie Freeman from my standpoint.
Yeah. I was going to say there's still a lot to be decided. It's very rare that we're at March 1st and we don't know where half the league is supposed to play.
Yeah,
So
it's very true. And we'll put a cork in that for now because that could be a whole nother conversation, which we'll have offline in a minute. But Matthew, thank you for teaching us about cryptocurrency. It's a fascinating new world that people really shouldn't be scared about. They need to learn about to see if it's something that's for them, because it's not for everybody. But
it's one of those things. When I was growing up and people told me to open a stock portfolio, it was diversify. I didn't know what IBM did when I was 13 years old and opened the stock market account, but I still bought some because it was the right thing to do. It's smart just to get a little bit of exposure and then learn later.
But as always, great talking with you. Thank you for educating us. As we do every Tuesday, 10 o'clock, NOMBERG Law Live. We'll see you guys again next Tuesday. Take care.